Good evening, you're watching Estuary TV News. Coming up, regeneration in East Hull, a plan to revive a neglected area. And it's where the nuts come from. A Brazilian football fan chooses the Humber over Copacabana. And I'm with Paul Fisher, editor of the Market Raisin Mail, among other newspapers, to discuss this week's local news. Welcome to Estuary TV News. I'm Hugh Riches. First of all, it's over to James Dunn for the news headlines.
Hello, in the headlines today, the Greens launched their Lincolnshire campaign and sleeping rough in the region. The deputy leader of the Green Party said they could steal votes from Labour voters in Lincolnshire as she launched the party's campaign. Amelia Womack was in Barton with 4 candidates standing in the northern Lincolnshire constituencies. 3 out of the 4 are standing in constituencies where the party has not previously fielded candidates. The party's membership has more than doubled over the last year, and the deputy leader believes that most people relate to their policies on key areas such as the NHS and in austerity.
A lot of Labour voters no longer want to validate the austerity message that the Labour Party is putting out and want to vote Greens so that their anti-austerity voice is clear, and that even messaging around other key policy points is a clear message to the Labour Party that they're not speaking for many of their members anymore, that they're not speaking for a typical Labour voter anymore.
One of Hull's most historic areas, Beverley Road, is now a step closer to a better future. Hull City Council have applied to the Heritage Lottery Fund, which would see the former Hull Savings Bank and Stepney Station building amongst those getting a facelift. Residents have 2 further opportunities to have their say on the proposals this Saturday at Beverley Road Baths from 11 or Tuesday from 3:30 at Stepney Primary School.
I think people are really keen to see Beverley Road in a better state. They're really keen to see, its potential. It could really be, it is one of the most important gateways into the city, and it really could do to look like that.
Nearly 200 people across the Humber will be sleeping rough to raise awareness of homelessness and money for the YMCA this evening. Among them will be our reporter Dave Nunn, who's in Grimsby, which will host record numbers at Freshney Place Shopping Centre. There will also be events in North Lincolnshire, East Riding and in Hull.
It is, yeah. It's 5th year of doing Sleep Easy, and we've smashed the participant record to smithereens, so really pleased so far and looking forward to what's going to be a great fundraising night. As of today, 113 sleeping rough in Grimsby. The most we had before that was 80, and that was last year, so we've far surpassed that, and we're just absolutely delighted with the support.
That's all from me. Bye for now.
Hull is currently undergoing a number of different regeneration projects to coincide with its year as City of Culture in 2017. One of these areas is the Ings estate, and yesterday the initial spade was put in the ground on the site for the first 65 of 700 new homes. Dave Nunn went along to find out more.
City of Culture and the arrival of the renewables sector are strengthening the positive reputation of Hull and bringing investment into the city. Now that investment is going to places that need it the most, like the Ings estate in East Hull.
Certainly the houses, what they call the Caspan houses, they were built in the 60s as a temporary measure, and they're well past the sell-by date, and the people, the properties are getting demolished now, and people are just really looking forward to moving on this site when it gets completed.
650 homes will be built in Ings as part of a 15-year plan, which is coupled with other regenerations across Hull, such as the proposed city centre developments. The City Council sees these projects as bringing change to the entire city, in line with the City of Culture project.
Yeah, we've got 2 types of development going on. We've got the main infrastructure of the city, and as you say, we've got the City of Culture, and then we've got the accommodation, the major housing schemes, the regeneration of some of our outer areas, as well as the inner city development. So it's all coming together.
Councillors are excited at what this investment will bring into Ings.
They're going to be extremely pleased with the end product, and they'll be pleased to see that when this development's complete, that the area will be far more settled, far more attractive.
Well, the area is just changing dramatically. It really is a fantastic news for this area.
Places like the Ings estate haven't exactly been the best of places to live in recent years, but thanks to City of Culture and the projects of regeneration that's going on in Hull, Sites like this will give way to fantastic new homes where people will look forward to living and regenerate areas just like Ings.
You're watching Estuary TV News. A little later in the programme, we look at the schedule of Trevor Foster, Mayor of North Lincolnshire, and Dan Kemp will bring you all the sports news. Here in the studio, I'm with Paul Fisher, editor of the Market Raisin Mail, amongst almost every other newspaper in Lincolnshire. He's been looking at the stories in the press this week. Paul, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
How many newspapers do you edit?
I edit four.
Right.
Market Raisin, Mablethorpe, Louth and Horncastle.
Excellent, good work. What have you found in the papers? What's caught your eye?
In between trying to put out my own papers, picked up the Grimsby Telegraph this last week, and this is a great example of our emergency services needing to be ready for any eventuality when they turn up to a job. What started off as a normal everyday fire to put out, if you will, as every day as a fire can be, in King Edward Street in Grimsby, turned into something quite different. When the fire brigades arrived, they found one of the largest cannabis factories that Humberside Police have discovered in their 41-year history. 2,000 plants in this house, which was alight. And of course, given the nature of the plant,
Of the combustible material.
of the combustible material, the fire crews had to go in fully kitted out with breathing apparatus, so not to inhale any of the fumes. And
It's a terrible, well, it's a disaster for the criminals who were growing this marijuana, or for the farmers. But I mean, I guess if you were just walking around King Edward Street that day, you might have felt a little bit lightheaded.
Indeed, there was certainly something in the air that day, I would imagine. And believed to be an electrical fault, probably some of the equipment used to grow this illegal product.
And £1 million worth of cannabis.
Yeah, 2,000 plants, as I say, biggest they've uncovered, I think.
Well, good for the
Fascinating.
the fire brigade. Yep.
Absolutely.
I don't know why that's funny, but it is somehow, isn't it? What else did you find? The Skegness story.
Yeah, so this is the Skegness Standard, one of our papers, and they're giving coverage on their front page and inside this last week to a £175 million investment for 2 new visitor sites on the coast. And if we turn inside, it's a new state-of-the-art, the UK's first marine observatory, which is proposed for Chapel St Leonard's.
Yep. Nice illustrations of what it might look like.
So that's proposed for Chapel St Leonard's, and that'd be UK first. And also the rebuilding of the Gibraltar Point Visitors Centre, which if any of your watchers been there, they'll have seen since last year's tidal surge, December 2013, just over a year ago now. It was destroyed in that tidal surge, and they've not really had a visitor centre there since. They've made do, I think, with some portable buildings, but this is going to, really revamp the site and make it better than ever. So that's good news for our coastline.
What, £1.7 million? That's
absolutely
at a time of austerity. That's the word
at a time of cuts. It's good to hear the government investing in this way in our coastline.
And the Gibraltar Point, presumably that will be rebuilt in a way that is safe in floods, in tidal surges.
Absolutely. I think they're putting in extra work on their defences. It's going to be raised, I believe,
so it's going to be like
from its previous position.
A Malay
always like
campon
on stilts.
So.
Exactly.
Yep.
Exactly. And as we say, this Chapel St Leonard's development also very exciting, as it's going to be the UK's first observatory of its kind.
And it's observing what?
I believe it's observing marine life.
Right.
And ocean life, so I'm sure they'll have some fascinating research, the scientists.
It's important because the economy around there, Skegness, southern Lincolnshire coast and the Wash, it's very dependent on tourism, on visitors.
Very dependent. I mean, Gibraltar Point, all of its business, most of its business will be done in that summer season. So anything that can be done to either enhance that summer season or with the observatory extend that season to attract visitors all year round has got to be a good thing for local businesses like the hotels, the caterers and shops as a whole.
Yeah. Talking of hotels and catering, your home turf in Market Raisin.
Yeah, good news if you're visiting or you live in Market Raisin this week. One of the town's pubs, the Chase, it's been shut for just under a year, has been becoming a little bit of an eyesore.
Right.
It's due to be back in business.
Excellent.
New landlords taking it on. And he's a landlord of many years' experience, has had other pubs around Lincolnshire, and is bringing it back to a new lease of life.
Well, he says he's very keen on real ale, which is a happy thing as far as I'm concerned.
That's a good thing as far as I'm concerned too, and food on the way as I understand as well. So.
And probably creating about 7 jobs.
Yeah, which again has got to be a good thing at these times where we're hearing about cutbacks. The job market is a fragile thing, particularly in rural market towns, if you will. You know, there's a lot of development coming to market towns in Lincolnshire, like Market Raisin, and one of the questions people are asking is, you're building the homes, where will these new residents work? So it's good news.
And at a time when a lot of pubs are closing.
Absolutely.
As you say. And
the campaign for Real Ale say that I think it's 7 pubs a week in England are shutting on average.
Yeah, which is a sign of unhealthy rural economies, of course.
Absolutely.
Anyway, good for Market Raisin. Very glad that that I can go and get a drink there.
Absolutely.
Paul,
Come on down.
Back to you in a moment, though. In our regular feature now, we pull the chain of command for Where's the Mayor? This week, Trevor Foster, Mayor of North Lincolnshire.
Starting on Monday, the 2nd of February, very early on in the morning, I have a Mayor's Appeal Fund committee meeting. I have a charity committee who help me to raise funds for my 2 chosen charities this year, which are Lindsay Lodge Hospice and Macmillan Cancer Support. The main thing we'll be discussing is the gala night on February the 14th. It's a gala dinner with 3 elements of entertainment, 3-course meal, and it should be a very, very, very good occasion. So if you're interested, please get in touch with the Civic Office at Scunthorpe. Moving on, Tuesday and Wednesday, I will be doing my ward work, so I won't bore you with that. But on Thursday the 5th, I shall be attending the Places of Change housing charity event. They'll be celebrating their first year in existence. They're doing an excellent job in North Lincolnshire. And then following on from that, I shall be going to the Scunthorpe and Gainsborough Water Management Board. It's not quite as exciting an occasion, but it's one of the things I do as a ward councillor. Then in the evening, I shall be at Grantham to the South Kesteven Gala charity night, where I'm supporting the South Kesteven charity on that evening.
For 104 years, Hull City never had the opportunity to play in the top tier of English football. But in 2008, it all changed and East Yorkshire football became part of the most watched league in the world. Dan Kemp's been to meet one international tiger inspired by the story.
I, for one, am guilty of taking watching Premier League football every week for granted. But I haven't travelled 6,000 miles for the privilege. Mateus Campos, who lives in one of the world's largest cities, Sao Paulo in southern Brazil, has made the journey for his love of his football club, Hull City.
I have been here for a week, so I was waiting for that every day. So now it's a dream actually, because I follow Hull City for so long, 7 years in Brazil. So to be here in the KC, it's a dream coming true actually.
Inspired by playing video games as the Tigers, the club then signed Giovanni, a Brazilian international from Manchester City, and that lit the black and amber touch paper on Mateus' passion for Hull.
The first season that I actually followed Hull City was the first promotion the first promotion season with Windas and Campbell and that fantastic goal. And then when Gio came, a Brazilian player, then I know that it was the right team to support.
and the football club have welcomed him gladly. He's taken a tour of the stadium and has been given the chance to meet Steve Bruce and the players ahead of tomorrow's game with Newcastle United. But Matthias isn't only in Hull for the footy, but the culture too. Peter Johnson of Tigerlink has welcomed him and his interest in the area.
I wasn't quite sure before I'd met Matthias just how keen he would be on looking at Hull outside the football, and the fact that he's been to the Deep, to the Museum Quarter. It's really, really good in terms of the City of Culture 2000, because that means he'll go back and talk to people in Paris in the second part of his trip and back in Brazil. And he'll tell them about the Deep. He'll tell them about Holy Trinity. He'll tell them about the Marina, the Humber Bridge, and all the great things that he's seen. And that's fantastic, because what we want to do is to promote Hull as a city, make people realise that Hull is a fantastic, vibrant city, and communicate that across the world.
I loved it. The Deep, it's probably the most awesome aquarium that I have ever went, and in Brazil we have some really good aquariums. And the Humber Bridge, it's awesome as well.
At home, Matthias founded the Brazilian Hull City fans group, so let's hope some of his stories from Hull travel back with him and we can welcome more like him in the future.
And I'm still with Paul Fisher of the Market Raisin Mail here in the studio, having a look at the papers. Paul, you found a story about an app for cyclists.
Yes, popping across the water to the Hull Daily Mail. And this story is really stemmed in what information we put out about ourselves on the internet. And I'm always very careful with what information I give away. I don't tag myself into posts, no. If you will. I don't let on where I might be going, because I'm always a little bit wary of who might be watching.
And you don't want to let people know that you're out of the house.
Exactly, and this is really where this story stems from. It's focusing on two cycling apps, Strava and Map My Ride. And what the story is saying is that thieves are using these apps to actually find out where you live, and in some cases what make and model of bike you're wearing. Of course, some bikes can be very valuable.
Enormously expensive, yes.
Because cyclists use these apps to plot their route. And they plot with them from their house. They take their route out into the countryside maybe, and then back round to their house, how long it takes them, when they're doing it, what make of bike they're doing it on. So it gives the unscrupulous in society a chance to see, oh, well, this person is away from their home address, and it opens an opportunity where they know this homeowner is out of their house, and maybe a chance to commit a burglary.
How does the potential burglar get access to the cyclists' planning details?
Yeah, yes. Well, obviously it's a form of hacking. They are able to hack in. These are free to download, and so maybe haven't got as much security, if you will, as online banking, for example, which we consider to be very safe nowadays, because a lot of money goes into securing those. Free apps are maybe a lot easier for the unscrupulous to hack into and gain that personal information. And I think that's what the police are warning about.
People are increasingly dependent on apps and the internet generally, and it sort of takes over life. And it doesn't take over life, but it makes all the things in life that used to be requiring activity and sociability is turned into sitting there in front of that black mirror in front of the screen.
You can live your entire life online, it seems.
We were talking a moment ago about the happy news of the new pubs opening in Market Raisin, but is this one of the... Are we becoming an isolated community? We don't actually meet other human beings, we just talk to electricity.
Certainly one landlord I was speaking to said that, the pub used to be social media, if you will. If you wanted to see a friend, if you wanted to have a chat, you went to the pub. And he felt that pubs were struggling more because people weren't doing that anymore. They were sitting at home and having that conversation online. You don't even need to go outside to play a game anymore. You can game online with your friends who might be across the street, or they might be across the other side of the world. It's certainly made the world a lot smaller, and it's certainly possible to live your life online.
We sound like a pair of old men bemoaning change, no good will come of it, but we're right.
Less of the old.
Yes, well, sorry about that, me anyway. And there's one more story you found, cuts in the Lincolnshire police force.
Yeah, absolutely. This was
that's in the Market Raisin Mail as well.
On the front of the Raisin Mail and inside this week. Chief Constable of Lincolnshire Police, Neil Rhodes, has applied for an emergency grant of, I think it's just over 3 million, to the policing minister, to the government, in order to, if you will, bail out the police force and save, he says, 236 police officers' jobs. Now, this is because the government funding, the amount of money Lincolnshire Police receive,
has been cut. Now, it's interesting because Alan Hardwick and the Commissioner of Police and the Chief Constable are united in this, and they've not always been united, have they?
They haven't. Of course, famously, Neil Rhodes was suspended by the Police Commissioner, Alan Hardwick, but they certainly seem to be singing from the same hymn sheet now.
Paul, thank you very much. Here's the sport with Dan Kemp.
All our local sides are in action over the weekend. Hull City host Newcastle United at the KC Stadium tomorrow. The Tigers are still without a string of first-team names due to injury, but hope to welcome back strikers Nikita Jelavic and Abel Hernandez, as well as Andy Robertson, Gaston Ramirez and Alex Bruce after injury. The game kicks off at 12:45. Meanwhile, at 3 o'clock, Scunthorpe United travel to Leyton Orient. The Irons sit 17th in League One, 3 points above the relegation zone and with games in hand. Grimsby Town host AFC Telford at Blundell Park. The Mariners are expected to still be without Scott Brown and John Paul Pittman for the clash with the league's bottom club. And North Ferriby United host Worcester City in the Conference North. The Villagers sit 6 points from a playoff place. In ice hockey, the Hull Stingrays have a double header against Scottish sides to look forward to. Saturday sees the Rays travel north of the border to take on the Brayhead Clan, whilst on Sunday Hull return home to face the Fife Flyers. Face off at the Hull Arena in that one is 6 o'clock. And forward Corey Tanaka believes 2 points is the minimum requirement for the side this weekend. In rugby, the Super League season kicks off next weekend for our local sides, but we do have some rugby union. Hull IUFC hosts Huddersfield at the Chantlands Avenue ground at 2 p.m, whilst league leaders Hull Ionians are at Sedgley Park kicking off at 2:30. And back to football in the Northern Counties East League Premier. Bridlington Town and Cleethorpes Town both have home games, whilst the league down there's a Lincolnshire derby between Bottisford and Louth and a Humber derby between Hall Road and Winterton, whilst Grimsby Borough are at Clippiston. And please don't hesitate to get in touch if you've got any sports stories for us and if you want to share them with us. Thank you, and that's all for the sport.
Thanks, Dan. That's all we have time for today. Contact details on the screen, but until Monday, good evening.
Hello and welcome to Estuary TV's weather. Saturday will be cold and mostly dry, but wintry showers near coast may become more widespread. Brisk winds, especially near the coast, with maximum temperatures of 4 degrees. All parts cold and mostly dry for Sunday, along with frost and a chance of snow showers.